this on or something. All right. Yeah, so thanks for being here for the last session. And yeah, so I would just wanted to kind of give you guys a little bit of an overview of what we've been doing with cover crops in Pierce. And so I joined the district about 5 years ago, and my position, a lot of the job description was to expand the work the district was already doing around cover crops. So the district had just purchased a NoTill drill, and they had been developing some great collaborations with the WSU Puyallup Research and Extension Center, which is just a couple miles from our office, which is great. And so they wanted to kind of beef up the technical assistance and the financial assistance that we could offer around cover crops. So that's been a big part of my work at the district since I've been there. So today I just wanted to focus on what we've been doing, and as well as some exciting new regional collaborations that are kind of gaining speed that you could plug into that are pretty exciting. And also to discuss, just to highlight a new networking forum that we have through CTD that would love for more people to jump in on. So let's see here. So our cover crop program has 3 components. You know, we have a rental program. We're trying to get the right equipment available to farmers who are wanting to experiment more with cover crops. And then we have developed a cover crop cost share program. We sort of looked at what King CD was doing and have sort of adopted that model. And then we also have been developing these collaborations with WSU and trying to build the farmer researcher network in our region. And we have a cover crop management page at our website. So we kind of have the description of our program and some of our favorite resources. So if you want to go check things out there, that's where we have all of our cover crop stuff. So we have this, so I'll just go through our equipment real quick here. We have a NoTill drill, and we feel like it's kind of big. It's actually a little too small for some of our bigger producers because it's only got a 6-foot wide planting width, but it does take a pretty big tractor to operate. And it's a true no-till drill. It's got these really big coulters that can cut through some pretty serious mulch. So, and we house it at the local tractor dealership where we bought it, and they manage the maintenance and they dish it out to folks for a delivery fee, which we ask for from the landowners, but it's pretty reasonable. And then we just ask for like we do a $90 a day or not $90 per day, but a $90 per rental fee for that. So we're going into our 4th season with the drill, and it's been going really well. So we have about a dozen farmers who use it every year, but not necessarily for cover crops, because it's been mainly used for pasture renovation, which has been great, but it hasn't really been used a lot for cover crops. And we think that's mainly because a lot of our folks who are interested in cover crops are smaller scale, and so they don't have a tractor as big as they need to operate this drill. So we decided to get a smaller seed drill, and that would be available for that class of farmers, and see if that will help us kind of generate a little bit more interest in our program and equip folks to really do a great job seeding cover crops. So this is our new seeder that we don't have it yet. It's supposed to be here in July, but we're pretty excited about it. It only takes a 15 horsepower tractor, and you can adjust the coulters on the front to sort of make it more or less no-till. So it's not like a seed drill like the big guy, but it does have some no-till applications it can be used for. So we're excited about this, and you can reach out to me and ask me how it's going this fall, see if more people are using it. So, and then we also kind of wanted to make equipment available to folks who are wanting to do work with like mulching cover crops really uniformly and then planting directly into that. WSU has been doing quite a bit of work with no-till vegetable experimentation, and they're sort of still in the experimental phase, but we wanted people to be able to try it out, what they were seeing at WSU. So we have this flail mower, but it also requires quite a big tractor to operate. So we haven't had a lot of people use it. And we do have a new BCS tractor that we added to our equipment rental program this year, and that has a flail mower attachment. And so we're hoping that some of the smaller scale farmers might be able to use that to get into the cover crop mulching piece. But yeah, so we have the 2 flail mowers. So that's our equipment piece. And then we also have the cover crop cost share, and we're trying to make that a cost share that's super low barrier, really easy to sign up for, not a lot of paperwork. And we sort of modeling off of KCD, they do up to 75% of costs, or 75% of costs up to $150 an acre. So really want to give people a good chunk of cash to really support their experimentation with cover crops. And we just have a very simple application process where we fill out a job sheet with them. You know, some of our folks really know what they want to do, and it's just a matter of cross-checking that we feel comfortable with their seeding rate and how early they're going to get it in and whether it's going to be successful. And then other folks really want a lot more hand-holding. They don't know anything about cover crops and they kind of want to use this as a way to jump into it. So, and the main thing that we ask people to commit to if they're going to do the cost share is to give us feedback, because that's one of our main goals of the programs. We really want to have a chance to have more conversations with farmers around cover crops. So if they're kind of on the hook to like tell us, well, at the end of the season, you have to tell us what was successful, what were the challenges. And you know, as you know, farmers are hard to catch up with. They're so busy, but if they have this, you know, commitment that they have to tell you what they learned, it's a good way to ensure you get some feedback for your process. And we really want it to be a way for farmers to share information with each other. So if I learned that this worked with farmer A, then when farmer B comes along, I can say, well, this really worked in this situation. I think it would work for you too. And we can kind of build our network around cover crops. So, and then, like I said, we have the blessing of being super close to WSU Puyallup, and Doug Collins, he's the guy in the middle there. He has been doing soil health work, but then lots with cover crops for more than 10 or 15 years. And he's a great guy to work with. So we just finished up a grant with him where it was 3 or 4 years, where one of the main components was working with WSU to set up demonstrations on farms, trialing different cover crop ideas, and then we would host workshops and folks would be able to come and see what he had done. So he did some demonstrations around different varieties, like kind of trying to identify named varieties of cover crops that we could recommend to folks. And that was really fun. And then he also did some work on like year-round fallows, where you would seed a summer cover crop and a winter cover crop all at once. And the summer cover crop dies off, and then the winter cover crop comes in and takes you through the rest of the year. And then he's got the last project he did was with cover crops, summer cover crops for compaction. So he made some great videos of all of that work, and they're at our website as well, that cover crop management website. So you can go check out some of the results that he came to from that work. But I would love to, you know, we don't have another grant right now to work with WSU, but I'm hoping that our cost share program, we can sort of incorporate some trials with that. Like every year, pick a few ideas to trial with farmers and plug into what Doug's doing and kind of keep that collaboration going. But I feel like collaborating with WSU, that as CDs, we could do a lot more with that, like the Vancouver station, the Mount Vernon station, and then there's all the work in Pullman. Just, you know, in our county, WSU, we don't have an extension agent. And so, and I know other counties are sort of in the same boat where they're doing a lot of great work, but they don't really have a way to get it out to farmers efficiently. But just offering to WSU, we'll put on a workshop for you if you'll come and share what you're doing. So I think like I would love other CDs like to get into doing that so that I can tap in more efficiently to what WSU is doing more widely. So if you do have WSU near you, I would definitely encourage you to try to build those relationships, because it's been really fun and they're super eager to work with us. They just don't have the time to vote to extension as much. And maybe that'll change over the next few years, but that's the situation we are in Pierce, at least.
I have a quick question, just to
backtrack
a little bit. With the program where you're renting out equipment, have you ran into any instances where you've had kind of like a market competition issue where people have come back and said, hey, you're interfering with my ability to rent out this equipment?
Oh yeah, no, we don't have anyone doing anything similar, but I wonder if on the east side there's
I know we've
probably
had struggled with it in the past. So
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. No, we have not had that problem. But
so what do you do with the cover crops? Is it till it back in, graze
yeah.
it, hay it,
all of the above, yeah. Oh yeah. So your question was around whether there's been problems with our rental program and whether that's been not well received because there's other folks who also are renting equipment. And my answer, well, you heard my answer. We haven't had any issues. And then your question was just how are the cover crops used after they are seeded and grow out?
Yes.
Yeah, most of our cover crop folks are terminating them with mowing or tillage and just working it into the soil. Yeah. Yeah, not a lot of mulching and no-till like maybe on the east side. So, yeah. Cool. So then another piece that we were doing with WSU that was a lot of fun was we were trying to do some annual roundtables around cover crops, and we did a couple of those. That the vision being to kind of connect farmers and researchers coming together and cross-pollinating, and that was pretty well received. But there's a new collaboration, a formation of the Western Cover Crop Council, and that sort of networking collaboration regionally is sort of being taken over by that entity, and they're sort of gaining momentum, but I think they'll be doing a lot more around regional networking. And I believe it's been about 3 years now since the Cover Crop Council came together, and they're just hoping to facilitate communication and collaboration around cover crops regionally. And this is the region, so it's huge for the Western Cover Crop Council, but they've also divided into subregions. So we have a subregion, the Pacific Northwest subregion, and Doug Collins is the chair of that. And if you would like to get involved in that, I would highly recommend that. They're just sort of trying to figure out what they're doing and how they want to collaborate. And Doug organizes meetings once a quarter. So it's been Zoom, and you can reach out to him and get on that list. And he's got folks from seed companies and OSU and WSU. There's a lot of folks who are interested in cover crops and trying to figure out how to collaborate more. So they also just finished a from the ground up series. It's about 24 videos highlighting cover crop work in the region. So it's a nice way to kind of get up to speed on what's been going on and what the universities are doing, and really interesting videos. They're all very short, but there's a lot of them. So if you go to their website and go to the videos and webinars, they're all there. So and then last year, we started the cover crop networking forum through CTD. And probably noticed that there's a number of these forums that were formed last year. And we're just meeting 3 times a year, trying to keep it to, about less than 2-hour meeting, just to serve as a place for us as conservation districts to network around cover crops and sharing what each of us are doing. And I would love to see more of, collaborating around, well, would we like to try experimenting with a number of things each season together and kind of giving feedback to each other regionally. So we're a little diverse, the eastern and western sides just have very different cover crop applications, but I guess we've had 3 of these so far, and like to continue to build the momentum there and make it a place where we can connect around cover crops. So I think that's all I have. So
What are your main cover crops?
yeah, a lot of folks will, oh yeah, what are the main cover crops that we're using? We do a lot with rye and vetch combinations, and with the summer cover crop, I would say buckwheat and Sudan grass are ones that we've been working a lot with farmers on. We've been trying to do a little bit more with the clovers as well, like trying to just kind of expand the palette of what is available to farmers, what we feel comfortable with, so that they have more than just like rye vetch to work with. And, but that's a very common one in our area. Yeah. One of the pieces that we would really like to drill down a bit more on is with cover crops. A lot of times you'll buy a cover crop that's variety non-stated, and so you don't really know what it could be. Any variety, and from year to year that could vary. And a lot of the folks at the research stations are saying, well, that's really low-hanging fruit, is to identify varieties that are stated. And so, just like you don't grow a tomato plant that grows well in Florida isn't going to do so great in our region. It's the same with cover crop, but that area just hasn't really been exploited. And so there's been quite a bit of work at the plant material centers, like at Corvallis and Pullman, to identify, just to really understand some of the differences between different varieties, like different varieties of rye, clover, et cetera, so that you're really getting the same thing every season. You know what you're working with, versus getting something that's, you don't know what it is, and it may perform great one year, but then the next year you buy rye, but it doesn't perform well, and you think, well, it's just the rye, but maybe it's just the variety isn't the right one. So that's an area, or just that some varieties are just way better at flood tolerance than another variety. So that's one area that we'd love to do a little bit more work in. And just when a farmer comes to us and says, I think rye is what I need to plant, but have 5 different varieties of rye with different maturity dates that have been tested in our region, that we feel confident that they could really be more precise in their cover cropping. So.
What did you think of that Sudan grass? How did it grow in your environment? It's more for desert.
Yeah,
high temps.
yeah, it grows great in July and August.
Yeah. Okay. And did you graze it down to 4 inches or cut it and then see if it regrew like they said?
Yeah. Yep. Yes. And that's part of the reason Doug is using it in his compaction work, because supposedly if you mow it regularly, it'll send roots down deeper and work on the compaction. So that's what he's looking at there. But yeah, it does really great, and then it dies off. So in his work with the year-round fallow cover crop approach, the Sudan grass was awesome till it froze out, and then the clover came in and took it through the rest of the year. So it was a nice, it worked really well.
We had some producers in Skagit that do Sudan grass. It can be hard to get established if it's really droughty in the summer, because that's kind of when you're seeding it when it's germinating. But it does put on quite a bit of growth later in the summer. The other thing you gotta think about with that is you can't graze the bottom 18 inches because it has prussic acid in it. So it's gonna work better with larger livestock like cattle.
Yes.
And you just gotta think about your timing and how you're moving animals through that system a lot more.
Yeah. We were gonna plant it this spring, but obviously on the east side, that wasn't a good choice. So perhaps sometime in the year.
Yeah, that's still a possibility.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the farmers that Doug worked with, they were established in Sudan grass without irrigation, and it was we were a little wetter last year, but I think mid-June and end of June were his planting dates in there.
Where we were looking at putting it in, irrigating it, growing, taking, cutting for hay,
Yeah,
and then watering and regrow for perhaps pasture, regrow till under.
yeah,
And that'd be quite the cat's meow on our side.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, definitely try to plug into the Pacific Northwest regional meetings, because there are folks from that Doug has as collaborators on the east side, farmers who are doing things, and
That's a good call.
yeah, and I know that they're doing work with Sudan grass, some of the farmers he has is working with. So yeah, Doug, he is statewide, so he's responsible for the whole state, so he's available. He's super busy, but he's very responsive, especially to farmers. He really likes working with farmers, so he's a great resource. He's going on sabbatical in July until the end of the year, but so you have to wait till next January. But yeah, we're really excited about cover crops and feel like there's a lot of potential. We just feel like we need to kind of drill down on kind of having more precise information to give farmers so that they can, be more successful with it. In our region, it's such a narrow window to get them in, and then they want them out pretty early. So just, yeah.
I was actually gonna ask related to that, because I was wondering about the people that have struggles with, the people have been really struggling with the timing of the season, because the
Yeah.
cold weather is pretty cold. Like,
Yeah,
I used to say, you say October 31st for your season, and then I was thinking over 15th. Now it seems like you don't get your season by September. The weather gets on pretty cold. I had a couple
Yeah.
of farmers that was their window last year.
Yeah.
Unexpected weather on the west side. So I
Yeah.
don't know.
right. Yeah. Yeah, so the question was just, that the planting window, the date for getting your seed in seems to be shifting and moving up. And
No, anyone else knows.
Yeah. right. Well, and I think that's something that I would love to look more at, is I think that there are probably varieties out there that you can push the limit a little bit more, and just kind of finding those and experimenting a little bit more with those, because that's just the reality is, we just have really late planting dates here. So, like one of the pieces that came out of Doug's trials with varieties, we did a bunch of different vetches. We did a hairy vetch, a common vetch, and then we did a Lana vetch. And the Lana vetch was just outperformed every year. And I guess, Lana isn't winter dormant, and so it just covers the ground a little bit better. So that's a piece where everyone's using common vetch because it's it's less prone to get weedy. And but there are some other, like this Lana, like, why are we all planting this Lana? We gotta tell people more about this and try this more, because the common vetch look pretty sad, but the Solana really outperformed every year in some pretty marginal sandy soil. So just kind of drilling down a little bit on in some low hanging fruit and networking around that. And because I think there's so many things that we're all discovering and little pieces that seem insignificant, but they're pretty important. And if we can be better networked and just have a way to collaborate a little bit more tightly, I think we could do make some fun progress. But we're also busy. It's hard to find time to collaborate. Is that?
I'd love to know if you have success with your smaller cedar, because
Yeah.
we have big rooms, so I'm trying to figure out what the barriers are.
Okay.
Use it, 'cause no one's really using it, no one answers. So I would love to know if that seems like something you want really,
Yeah.
if that was.
Okay.
We're
Yeah.
thinking about like, we wouldn't have this direction.
Yeah. Yeah. So Megan was just saying she's also having problems with people not using the drill because it's too big. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of along that line, we also just got a note to know, was this the first season or last? Anyway, it's kind of like a new program for us too, and I'm brand new in this district, so I'm just kind of
Yeah.
starting to take over that program, but like, do you have any tips or like feedback on like how you've been able to kind of get the word out? Not
Yeah.
to do it any video has, how to make people aware that that's available, or they're just having it like on
Yeah.
the website.
Right. Yeah. So she's just asking about how we get the word out about the drill. What county are you in?
Or Grace Harbor.
Grace Harbor. Oh, sweet. Okay. Yeah. So for our drill, we had 2 or 3 trainings that we made available in person. But a lot of times we would tack it on to these workshops with Doug on cover crops. So people would come to the workshop, and then if you want to stay for the training, we'll do that at the end. So people could get a hands-on chance to see the drill. It's kind of intimidating. I mean, it's a big piece of equipment and it looks complicated, but it's worked fine. We've had no problems with people breaking it or and we also have a training video on our website that we recorded one of our in-person workshops, and so people can watch that. And we do have a short test that we require people to take, just so they remember that there's only several things that you shouldn't do with the drill, but we want people to get that in their brains. So yeah, the in-person and then having it available on the website as well to watch. But we just get the word out with, I mean, I think having the cover crop cost share is helpful to say, well, you have this drill available and we can actually reimburse you to experiment with it. And the first 2 years, we made the drill available for no cost. We just covered that delivery fee and pickup fee.
How do you guys get your funding for the cost share? Is that something you do with a particular program or grant, or is that something you get from your tax assessment?
Yeah, sorry, I meant to cover that. Yeah, the question was how do we fund our cost share? We take a chunk of our, we call it our farm rates cost share that we give out every year. So we just take a portion of that. And then we've also partnered with our county, and they're giving us another several thousand every year. So we have about $12,000 is what we've been, so it's not a huge program, but yeah, it's neat to partner with the county. That's been great, because our county does have some real flexible funding that they're looking to put towards supporting farmers. So, and we worked it where we don't have to have board approval for that cost share. It's something they've approved, they pre-approved it and said, yes, just you go through your process, it's pre-approved, so it's quick. Yes.
So are you doing it on like 75%?
Yep, we do 75% of the cost up to $150 an acre. Mhm.
Or is that just for seeders?
Yep, anything they want to put in there to get them up to that $150. So our folks that are using organic seed, they often just eat up that reimbursement with seed costs, but then, or, they can put it towards renting the drill.
Do you have a cap on how many acres they can be a part of?
We don't have a cap on how many acres they can do. We just kind of sort of first come, first serve. And I try to get a feel for what everyone is wanting to plant. And then sometimes I've told people, well, I can't give you enough for the whole acreage you want to do. Can I give you for 10 so that we have some for other folks that are interested? So I probably at some point we should do that, but we've actually had trouble getting the money out. It was only 1 year where we had to kind of massage things a little bit. So, but then this year I already have a number of our bigger farmers who are interested. And so I anticipate having no problems this year, but yeah, but I think as we develop it, we'll probably have to have something a little bit more formal to make it more equitable or, yeah.
So I know we don't quite know how the sustainable harvesting fields funding will be
Yeah,
allocated, but do you have any like ideas or do you have?
Yeah. right. Yeah, the question was, are we looking at that sustainable farms and field funding for this program? Yes, I mean, we haven't really looked very carefully at what kind of funding might be available that would fit, but I guess we're hoping that might be a good fit. In my understanding, that's tied a little bit more to actually kind of calculating the carbon sequestration values out of it, but yeah. Yeah. Has anyone else looked at that kind of piece? And
I mean, yeah, just any sort of silvopasture, cover cropping, but
yeah,
we have hay growers, mostly regular hay growers, so trying to convince, trying to figure out when to rotate in a cover crop.
okay,
This was something that I'm interested in learning more about, the method of planting the cover crops. No-till, but I found that breaking through that really heavy dense sod has been quite an issue for germination and establishment. So, maybe no-till, if that, when we're first going into a cover crop, maybe doesn't work, but maybe when they're rotating in an angle, crop rotation, like barley or something,
yeah,
make more sense. That's kind of what I'm trying to think through right now. But yeah, I mean, any of the soil practices, I'm not sure if prescribed grazing would fit, but I would sure like for it to.
yeah. Yeah.
So it's like, with carbon, but also.
Well,
Yeah. Yeah. We sort of went the route of our own cover crop cost share because some of the other funding was so complicated and you had to think about it way in advance and the reimbursement maybe wasn't that great anyway. So, but one of the pieces that one of the funding sources we were looking at was NRCS, but and it was too difficult because to qualify for their cost share, they had to reduce their tillage by a certain amount. And so it just, because oftentimes they were increasing tillage because they were using cover crops. So, but I think it's just been maybe 2 years now, they've had a new resource concern, the aggregate stability. And so that is one that we would like to look more at because that seems like a really easy one to identify. And if you had a farmer who was really into a flow with cover crops, it would be a great fit for them to go NRCS and worth it. So that's something that we'd like to explore more, is that the equip funding for cover crops.
I would look into the standard though, so if large aggregate instability as a resource to take the standard for cover crop, or would you still most of the time require you to do T? And
Yeah.
if the reduced till drills aren't underneath their WEP's program T levels, you still won't.
Okay, yeah. Always something.
Yeah, the standards are very different and a lot of
Yeah,
things.
yeah. Yeah, that would be, yeah, with these cover crops, I feel like you need something really nimble. And, you know, you have a chance, the farmer doesn't have a chance. I mean, if there's a moment where they're like, okay, I want to try this, you gotta have something ready right then. And some of these other programs are a little bit more, you know, longer term. So that's why we just wanted something really quick. I mean, like someone can call me and say, can I plant this tomorrow? I'm like, yeah, let's do a job sheet and go for it. So that's been nice.
I was just gonna say, I'm from Lincoln County, on the east side. We have a program very similar to this.
Okay.
And we're funded through Department of Ecology, that's where we get our grant from.
Yeah,
And basically it's no-till, seed 3-year program, we have our
Yeah.
producers enrolled. Same thing, we have a cap on acres that they can enroll up to 250.
Okay.
They reimburse only up to $28 an acre.
Mhm.
But it's same type of deal that you're talking about with NRCS. There's a lot of qualifications.
Yeah.
First time producers, first time direct seeders. So that kind of disqualifies quite a few folks. But it's a good program we have offered to our producers that are looking to try it out on a portion of their farm.
Yeah.
And reimburse some of the seeding costs.
Yeah, that we had a similar grant, and that's actually what funded these workshops with WSU and the purchase of the drill. And it did have cost share, that, but it was similar where we just didn't have enough landowners that really qualified. A lot of folks used it for pasture renovations, but because they were all tilling. Yeah.
Even like with our district, we didn't have enough producers having letters of support when we first started.
Okay.
Bringing into the grant, so
Yeah.
we partner, or we have other districts. So the current one we're working with Adams. In the past, we worked with like Rock Lake, Loose,
Yeah.
some of those grants. So just combining with a few, to get a few producers in our district and a few in some of the other districts.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's something,
Yeah. And that funding might be something to keep an eye on too, because, you know, when we did our ecology grant, we got into it and then we realized that it was actually a grant that was more appropriate for the west side, for the east side. And so ecology had to go back and review sort of that grant program and figure out if there was a better west side fit. And so they did a lot of revisions. I don't know if that means that they'll be offering some more grants in the next several years that would fit the west side better. But yeah, it's a neat funding program to get yourself some equipment and some cost share too. Yeah. How many folks have cover crop programs already at your district that you're? Yeah. And you all are east side? Yeah. You're east side as well. Okay.
Do you use summer cover, cost sharing summer cover?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Ours is implemented to winter, and the
Okay.
policy update where we can do it.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, we do both summer and winter
Yeah.
cover crop. I mean, most folks do the winter cover crop. Actually, I don't know if I've ever had, maybe just one producer has done the summer cover crop.
That's what it seems like more of a novel.
Yeah, right.
So you guys are planting your winter just because they don't have cover crops on the east side, compared to the west side. You have growth of your cover crops in the winter, right? Yeah. We're seeding in the late fall or in the seeding. We'll just-
Okay.
in the spring. That's cool.
I know, it's all so different.
Yeah.
There's so many nuances with cover crops. WSU, they have a couple pretty good publications. I don't know that they have the equivalent for the east side, but Doug has a couple publications for the west side that have some good planting dates and calendars. But even those are, some of the information there, you see growers succeeding with planting much later, or so it seems like there's, and one other thing that Doug is always talking about is seeding rates vary drastically. And so he's been doing some work with figuring a little bit, getting more precise seeding rates, because that can make a big difference for costs and success. So, but they do seem to vary a lot. One really great publication out of the Corvallis Plant Materials Center, there's a link to it on our website, but you can Google it and find it too. But they were part of a national study where everyone was looking at the same 60 varieties of cover crop, and they just have them all charted out and how they succeed, how they did for Corvallis, and I think Pullman did some of the same varieties too, not maybe all 60, but both. There's some information out of both of those studies at our website, but then they're posted other places too. But the PMCs are doing some really interesting work. And I think there's a new, Stephen Lee is new at the PMC in Pullman, and he's doing stuff over on the west side too. So he just, I think, started there last year, so that there may be some momentum in that direction as well, because I think one of his big focuses is going to be cover crops. So. Yeah.
Because I didn't know, like, we do cover crop seed giveaways, usually popular.
Yeah.
More of like small.
Okay.
Gardens,
Yeah.
Seed, but
Yeah.
we'll love it.
Okay. Yeah.
As a way of just getting people like familiarize themselves.
Yeah.
Nothing else.
Yeah. I sort of wondered about that for some of our smaller scale people, so they don't have to fill out this job sheet for like half an acre to say, or like as part of, like, I'd be interested in buying a variety that I'd like to get some more data on, and just buy a bunch of it, and you could be part of the cost share program, but having it there for folks to try out. So. Yeah. And so you said you're applying for 500 acres over 5 years. Is that what grant program is that through? Okay. Is that the piece that was Allison Halpern putting together an ask for that program? I don't know if that was a district, like a statewide piece. Is that? Yeah. 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 But do come to our cover crop forums and get plugged into Doug's regional meetings. They're really great. I think there's a big place for CDS in the cover crop world, and there's a lot of good momentum to plug into right now. So. No, we haven't. We do have a soil testing program, but it's not tied to the cover crops cost share.
Did anyone else in here do WSTA soil testing?
Yeah, we did that.
Yeah. Yep. How about for you guys?
We do it individually at our range.
Okay.
We do our own, because we have such varied soil.
Right.
Okay. Yeah,
And I think we did some of that.
yeah, that's an interesting program.
No, so we partner with Stevens County Conservation
Okay.
District, the soil stewards, and one thing that we'd like to see, or we're hosting a workshop to explain the results to landowners.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah. that was our-
that's smart. Okay.
Just because, yeah. It's complicated information that's
Yeah.
not really easy to understand, so just like, here you go.
Yeah,
You know, and like, I have no idea how to do this, so.
great. Yeah, that's a great idea.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, well, thanks so much. And yep.
Following, I guess.